new, welcome. If you're not new, welcome back. All your support is appreciated. My name is Zariah, and I'm back with another episode of True Crime at Bedtime. Today we're going to be covering the Velma Barfield case, also known as Death Row Granny. If you like these type of videos, go ahead and subscribe for more true crime content. And if you clicked on this video, I advise you to stay because we have a lot to cover. So without further ado, let's go ahead and get into it. Velma Barfield was born October 23rd of 1932. She was raised on a cotton and tobacco field in South Carolina. Velma was a child of Murphy Bullard and Lillian. Velma was raised in a poor Christian household. She was one of 9 children in the household, so altogether there was 11 people in this household. From the outside looking in, this family seemed perfect. It was like, oh, they're such a happy, big family. But in reality, Velma went through hell. At just 11 years old, Velma had different types of responsibilities like washing dishes, washing clothes, cooking for the family, and just basically tending to the whole family, all 11, so her and everybody else. Sometimes her father, Murphy, would even get her out of school just so she can do their laundry and do like the dishes and stuff, just so she can do more chores. Velma had to deal with all types of abuse from her father, including sexual abuse. She was 13, she had the flu, and her dad came into her room. Since she was so weak at the time and she, was sick, he decided to rape her at that time. At a young age, Velma would steal money from her dad and even sometimes her neighbor to pay for little stuff because she saw what the kids had at her school. And like I said, she did come from a poor household. So, of course, she was stealing money from her dad and the neighbors so she can buy certain stuff that she saw at school so the kids can be like, oh, you got this, da-da-da, But her dad ended up finding out that she was stealing from him and he beat her. He beat her like there was no tomorrow. So at the age of 16, she started dating a man named Thomas Burke. That was the age that she was able to finally date. She couldn't wait till she turned 16 so she can finally get into a relationship with this man. She actually knew him already when she was 13 when she moved to Robeson County. So finally when she turned 16, she felt like she finally had her chance to go after him. About a year later in the 10th grade, Velma ended up dropping out and she went to elope with Thomas. Velma only really married Thomas so she can escape her toxic household because, as we know, she was getting abused. She got raped at 13. It's not some environment you would want to be at. So she basically just got married to escape. The marriage actually went pretty good for the first few years. They live in Parkton, North Carolina, and they gave birth to both Ron and Kim. The couple basically thrived for 15 years. They were together for a long time. But in 1965, Thomas got into this bad car wreck, and it changed him and the whole family for the worst. Thomas ended up using alcohol and drugs to help with his pain because of the car wreck, and he kind of just got addicted to it, so he started doing alcohol and drugs. Velma ended up working at a textile plant. At this textile plant, she started to feel pain, so she had to leave. She ended up needing an emergency hysterectomy, so that ended up being the reason why she was addicted to painkillers. Her family and her children described seeing her passed out with pill bottles in her hand. Her daughter Kim said she would yell at them and then she would cry and she would hide the pill bottles anywhere she could think of. They found pill bottles in the dryer, in her hair, like in her rollers. They found pill bottles everywhere. Wherever she could stash them, she had them. Because both Thomas and Velma were addicted to different drugs, they fought a lot. In 1996, Velma ended up leaving the house with the kids. Now, my research kept saying like different things. So some of them said she purposely left. Some of them were saying that, she just went out for errands with the kids. I'm going to link all the places that I got my research from down below so you guys can see kind of what I mean. But I'm just going to say that she left the house with the kids. So later that day, the house ended up catching on fire with Thomas still in there, and he ended up dying. Of course, the kids were devastated, and from what they say, Velma seemed devastated too, but that did not stop her. A few months later, the house caught on fire again, burning the entire house down, so at this point, Velma had to move with her parents. Velma's life kept going. She ended up meeting a man named Jennings Barfield. Just like Velma, Jennings was also a widower. Velma and Jennings ended up getting married in 1970, but it only lasted a few months, which is crazy because it's a marriage. At this time, Velma still had a bad drug problem, so they would argue about that. On March 21st of 1971, after the argument, Jennings mysteriously died from heart failure from a mysterious illness that he got that no one could pretty much detect. And you're probably like, why didn't they do an autopsy? I didn't see this in any of the reports, but I'm assuming that since they were married, she basically just told them not to do an autopsy. I guess I don't know if that's how it works, but I watched Grey's Anatomy and in one episode that's what they like, the daughter and the wife was like, no, I don't want them to do an autopsy on my father. I know what killed them. So I'm assuming that she just told them no autopsy. So like I said, she ended up living with her parents in Fayetteville, North Carolina. A little bit after she moved over there, her father ended up dying of lung cancer. In December of 1974, Velma's mother started to complain about severe stomach pains and complications, so she ended up having to go to the hospital. They eventually let her go when she started feeling better, so they didn't think it was that big of a deal. But in August of 1974, her mother started to complain more about the severe pains, and she was admitted back into the hospital, but unfortunately she ended up dying 2 hours after getting there. Even though the doctors couldn't really find a reason behind the illness, they never actually did an autopsy, which again, I'm assuming because Velma said she didn't want one, which would have been a little suspicious to me anyway, because why wouldn't you want your mother's autopsy to be done? Like, wouldn't you want to know what killed your mother, you know what I'm saying? But she didn't want an autopsy. In 1975, Velma ended up going to jail because she was writing a lot of bad checks. And of course, as we know, she had a bad drug problem. So of course, she was trying to find that money to get those drugs. When Velma was released, she got a job as a caretaker for a home health nurse. She cared for Montgomery Edwards and his wife Dolly. Montgomery was 94 and his wife was 84. In 1977, Montgomery had died. A few weeks later, Dolly ended up dying because of a severe stomach virus. Now, Montgomery didn't die from the stomach virus. He just died, but he just died from something else. But Dolly actually died from a stomach virus. Velma was assigned to another couple, John Henry and Record Lee. John Henry ended up dying from the same mysterious virus that Dolly ended up dying from. At this point, people started to feel bad for Velma because it seemed like she was a very unlucky person, because people were dropping like flies around her. You know, at first it was her dad, then it was her mother, and then it was the elderly couple she took care of the first, and then another person from the elderly couple. So it was like, okay, everybody's just dying on your watch, and that's not even including her 2 husbands in the beginning. Velma ended up getting a new man named Stuart Taylor. He was there for her during these unlucky times. He was, you know, pretty much her backbone at the time. But on February 3rd of 1978, Stuart and Velma ended up getting into an argument because he found out that she was writing bad checks in his name. They got in this huge argument over it. Next day, they were about to be on their way to church, and Velma ended up giving Stuart a beer before they went. He was thinking that it was her calling the truce, like, okay, we're gonna be good, you know, like, okay, we good now, we're gonna get over this, right? But in the middle of the service, Stuart started to feel really bad, like he started to feel really sick, and he tried to thug it out the whole time. Like, he tried to sit through the service, but he just couldn't, so he ended up excusing himself to his car. Soon after, Velma ended up coming out there to comfort him, and she just started to stroke his hair and said, everything's gonna be okay, I'll drive us home. He begged Velma to take him to the hospital, and the doctor said he'll be fine. If he takes some medicine, he'll be fine by the next morning. But the next morning, Stuart did not wake up. Now, autopsy was done on Stuart, and I believe it's because Stuart and her weren't married. They were just boyfriend and girlfriend. So I think his family actually had a say in what, you know, what they wanted to do. I don't know how it worked with the other husbands or anybody else, like why they didn't do an autopsy on anybody else. But I'm pretty sure that Stuart's family, I know Stuart's family played a big part in getting that autopsy, but they weren't married, so I guess she had no say in whether he gets an autopsy or not. So an autopsy was done, and before the results even came back, the police got a call. Velma's sister had called the Lumberton police and basically told them that Velma poisoned him and poisoned pretty much everybody. The autopsy did confirm this. He ended up dying due to this toxin called arsenic. Arsenic is very toxic when it's in inorganic form. The police investigated some of the other deaths, and each one came back the same as Stuart's. Velma was arrested and she was questioned about these murders, but of course she denied it at first. But later she ended up confessing because they brought her son in, and she just felt like she couldn't lie to her son, so she spilled the truth. Velma said she only killed 4 people, which was her mother, Stuart, and then the Dolly and John Henry. Velma said she didn't mean to kill anybody. She just wanted to make them sick so she had time to pay off the little bit of debt that she had for taking their money. She basically stole their money to get more drugs, and she was trying to pay it back. And that's why she wanted them to be sick for a while so they can just, you know, be weak and sit over there so she can go and do what she needed to do. But the sad part about it is Dolly's murder wasn't even a part of that reason. She just she tried to blame it on her drug state of mind, but she couldn't find any other explanation other than that. Her attorney tried to offer a plea deal of her being guilty of reasons of insanity. Y'all know how that go. Velma mentioned that she went to several doctors for these prescriptions that she was getting, and that's why she had so many. Sometimes she would double, even triple her dosage of pills. A psychiatrist pretty much came up there and basically told them, like, no, she was definitely sane, she's definitely fine. It wasn't about no insanity. She knew what she was doing, which obviously I feel like that was obvious that she knew what she was doing, because she knew that she was paying back. She needed them to be sick to pay back that debt. That's what she said. I don't see that's insane, but it's not because she was going crazy in the head. Like, she knew what she was doing. It was said that Velma had attended every funeral of the people that she killed, including Stewart. Her family supported her through all these deaths because, she lost 2 husbands and a boyfriend. Because she denied that she killed any of the husbands. She said that the accident that happened with Thomas DeVire was not her. And she said Jennings she really just died of heart disease. Like, she didn't know what was going on. Of course, nobody really believed her on Jennings because he died of a mysterious type of illness, and his heart failed mysteriously. Ended up finding the same toxins from the other bodies in Jennings, so yeah, she couldn't lie about that one. Like, we found the toxins thing. In December of 1978, Velma was finally charged with first-degree murder of Stuart Taylor, and the jury recommended the death sentence. Her attorney tried to tell her to turn on the tears and, basically try to get sympathy from the crowd so she wouldn't go on death row. But instead, they said that she actually argued with the judge and she just went back and forth and tried to, I guess, prove her innocence. I have no idea what she was trying to do, but they said she basically poked her neck out and did what she had to say. And because of this arguing back and forth, she ended up with the death penalty. She was the first woman since 1962 to be executed, especially the first white woman since 1962 to be executed. While on death row, she became a born-again Christian. She started to minister to the guards and the inmates and stuff.
She found God. It's her relationship with God, she says, that has enabled her to survive her confinement.
Living in prison every day is a struggle, even at its best. And I know that without him and his strength that has sustained me, I couldn't have made it even thus far.
Velma thought that she was eating the girls up with the born-again Christian stuff. She found the confidence to try to write letters to Jim Hunt, the governor, and basically she was saying, like, my newfound faith should be considered in this whole death row type of thing. She got a lot of support from fellow Christians around the United States, and a lot of people actually supported Velma during this time. But even though she had all this support, the governor still declined. The whole movement was made for Velma so they could try to at least help her out a little bit, maybe get a little less years or not the death penalty, you know what I'm saying? But even her psychiatrist came out there and was like, no, she has personality disorder, but they wasn't hearing it. Her son was even saying things like, if they execute my mom, they execute somebody who did not commit those murders. I'm guessing he's referring to the personality disorder, like that wasn't my mom at the time. But like I said, all the support literally did nothing because Velma would end up being executed November 2nd of 1984, and her last meal was some Cheeto puffs, or like cheese puffs, and a Coca-Cola. Alright, you guys, that's all I have for you guys today. I hope y'all like this story because I did a lot of research. I researched this story down. I wanted to get her life story from the beginning to the end. If you like this type of content, go ahead and subscribe for more true crime content because I will definitely be posting more. I will see you guys in my next video. Bye.